Well, the construction is still going on outside. Happy Thursday, everybody. So, what's my low, my high, my act of kindness? You know what? My low was, like, I immediately had to go for, like, pretty much after I recorded yesterday's video, I was moving like 100 miles an hour getting stuff done in a relatively frantic way. All's well, though. Everything's fine. But, yeah, needless to say, there's a reason why it took forever for the video to get uploaded. Hopefully today won't be the same problem. What I can tell you, though, is my high. And actually, here's another part of my low. In trying to get in moving 100 miles an hour, there was one thing that I knew I had to do, but I couldn't do it. Because I arrived at the place where I was to get this one item I needed, and it wasn't there. No. Oh, that threw me off so much. But I'm okay though. Everything's fine. We good. Speaking of being good, let's get to my high. It was hot yesterday, but it was such a nice day out. Good Lord, was it a nice day out. Like, considering, like, how the last several weekends have been kind of, you know, not as bright and sunny. Not to mention, it's been a pretty cool summer so far. Having a day like yesterday, as hot as it was needed. Not to mention next week it's supposed to be like in the like high 80s and high humidity. Which, I mean, listen, if that's not your cup of tea, I don't know what to tell you. It's gonna be, at least in my area, that's gonna be the weather for the next week. Hopefully it gets to the weekend, but it's always so stupid too. Like, every time we get to like the weekend, it's like that's when the weather decides to not be as good. That's when you want the weather to be good. It's the weekend. Oh well, hopefully this weekend will be different. Fingers crossed. And my act of kindness. What would my act of kindness be? Most simply put, my act of kindness would be that well, I held the door for some people. Did that yesterday. I also helped carry something for somebody. And I also remember to call my folks. I call my parents. They told them hi, told them I love them and stuff like that. But enough of all the fanfare. Let's get into something that technically has always been on my mind. And maybe I have talked about it before, but I've never really gone into detail with. Because lately I've been seeing a lot of like local events that, you know, help and support a cause or pay it forward, if you will. And on top of that, even now, with pretty much every school in their summer vacation right now, and especially with high school graduations, I see a lot of stuff about, you know, Horseheads graduations, Corning graduations, Elmira graduations, Myra Heights graduations, pretty much every high school graduation in my local area, as well as Trinity-Pawling's, which was a few weeks ago, specifically like on Memorial Day, roughly on Memorial Day weekend. And it's something I've always wanted to have happen. And it's something I'd love to have happen someday. And again, I probably have talked about this, but maybe I haven't really gone into full detail about it. But as many of you guys know, or if you don't know, this is your first time learning, after I graduated from Horseheads High School, I went to Trinity-Pawling to repeat my senior year. And I'll go into more of this in December, but I really thought that's where it was all going to end, essentially. It didn't, but again, I wouldn't know that at the time. Trinity-Pawling drastically changed the course of my life. I wouldn't realize it then, but it changed my life for the better. And as the years have gone by, and having just had my 15-year reunion last September, my appreciation for everything Trinity-Pawling did for me has only grown more and more. Because it allowed the opportunity for me to know how to be, I learned how to be more thankful and appreciative towards the people in my life who are kind to me, to not take things, I still have a problem with some of these things, but Trinity-Pawling helped me learn, like, there's a way to, be thankful and appreciative, as well as, look to the people in your life who care about you. Because, listen, while my time at Trinity-Pawling wasn't by no means perfect, and there were definitely some people I couldn't stand when it was all over, I could never truly forget it. For all the highs and lows Trinity-Pawling gave, I definitely would say, I wouldn't change that for anything. Okay, maybe there's some things I would change, but for the most part, it's because of Trinity-Pawling I'm still here. And again, I'll get to more of that in December. As years have gone by, I've always wanted, there's something I have always wanted. And every so often, I'll see like a potential for that something I've always wanted to happen. Unfortunately, the timing's just not right, or maybe circumstances make it so it doesn't happen. I'll get to that in a second. But one of my ultimate goals in life is to somehow pay it forward. Like, do for others what Trinity-Pawling did for me. By which I mean, have Trinity-Pawling do for those others what Trinity-Pawling did for me. My ultimate goal in life, as far as paying it forward, would be to have, ideally I would have more than one person do this, but, start small, is to have at least one student from this area, whether it's from Corning or Elmira or Horseheads or Elmira Heights, or even if you want to go a little bit farther than that, like Montour, like Odessa Montour, or Watkins Glen, or maybe even Ithaca. What? Sorry, I sneezed. No, I don't. Never mind. Darn it. I hate it when that happens. Like, you gotta sneeze and then you don't. Anyway. I've been seeing a lot of, like charitable events. Like, they had an event at I'll Eagle Taphouse last night for the teachers of the Elmira City School District. And so I've been thinking, okay, what's that sort of, like, charitable pay it forward mentality? And that's what inspired this. It's one of the things that inspired this video. But, again, my ultimate goal would be to have a student from this area go to Trinity-Pawling. And part of that would be I help them get there in some way. I mean, listen, for those of you guys watching, I am a Trinity-Pawling alum. If you wanted to send your kid to Trinity-Pawling, you now have at least heard of a Trinity-Pawling alumni, which is what I am. So, yeah, it is sort of that kind of school that, it does help to know someone to get in. Speaking of knowing things, hold on. That's a little bit better. Yeah, someone said that the picture's crooked. Look, every time I've ever readjusted that thing, it always gets crooked again. That's why I don't bother with it. Anyway, where was I? Right. So, I mean, there are a few caveats to this goal that I do understand would turn some people away. I mean, for starters, yes, Trinity-Pawling is boys only. So, if your kid was, a girl, they wouldn't be able to go. But that's not to say that there's not any, all girls. In fact, Trinity-Pawling is very close to a couple of all-girl schools, specifically Miss Porter's and Ethel Walker. The latter, Ethel Walker that is, if I recall, is one of, if not the oldest prep school in the country. I know it's the oldest all-girls prep school in the country. Actually, that's not to say I would just limit it to Trinity-Pawling. Listen, the Founders League, which is what Trinity-Pawling is filled with amazing schools with just as equally amazing people. There's Brunswick, Avon Old Farms, Lewis Chaffee, Hotchkiss, Salisbury. That's just a few I can name off the top of my head. My point is, there's a lot of really great schools in the Founders League. Oh, Deerfield, that's another one I think is in the Founders League. And if I in some way could help a student from this area go to any one of those schools, that'd be awesome. That would be my ultimate paid forward gift. And another caveat is, and I'm sure you probably saw this coming, I am also a Horseheads High School alum. Ideally, yeah, I would want to have that student be from Horseheads and would go to Trinity-Pawling, which is where I went to. That would be that's the ultimate pay it forward thing right there. But as I've gotten older and have grown more and more fond of my home area over the years, I'm very well aware of the fact that the 607 is filled with so many amazing people. And a lot of those amazing people are raising very good kids. And yeah, I don't want to sound all, preachy or anything, but it never is a bad idea to consider what the future might hold. And if a student from this area were to go to, any one of those prep schools I just mentioned, and if I were to help in some way, that'd be awesome. And that's not to say, I haven't seen anyone, seriously, I would say since 2019, when I first started paying attention to at least sports athletes from Horseheads, I found quite a few students who would be absolutely phenomenal for Trinity-Pawling. Full stop, when I went there, I was, I'll even go so far as to say I was a broken man. And I left not only put back together, but a much better person. The students I've seen who I think would be great for Trinity-Pawling, at least from Horseheads anyway, they're in far better circumstances than I was. And I left and again, a loser like me left a better person. So imagine how good they would have it. But again, that's just me. So if I were to suggest a student go to Trinity-Pawling, or really any one of the prep schools I just mentioned, and I say student because, again, I am trying to include girls going to some of the girls prep schools, as well as there's a couple of schools I mentioned are co-ed. Hotchkiss I know is co-ed. Brunswick I believe is co-ed. Anyway, if any of those students were to go to any one of those prep schools, my advice would be this. Don't have all 4 years of high school be at one of those prep schools. Because that's what happened with me. I'll explain. See, when I went to Horseheads all 4 years of high school. And while I wouldn't know it then, I really grew fond of this community. And only in recent years has my fondness for this area been rekindled in a way that ultimately led to having this video be made, actually. To deny us, and that's not to say like if a student were to spend all 4 years at those prep schools and that's not to say they wouldn't have a fondness of this area, you know, during the summer or whatever, but there really is something to be said about going to a public school like, say, Horseheads, for example, all 4 years, and really learning and knowing about how wonderful this community is before you were to go off into the real world and see what it has in store for you. That's why, if I would ever suggest a student go to Trinity-Pawling, for instance, I would say I would wait until they're just about to be a senior, or if they were already a senior, to suggest such a thing. Because they've had their 4 years here, I'm sure they've grown a fondness for this community, and it really would present an opportunity for, you know, the Founders League, you know, Trinity-Pawling, Avon, Old Farms, all the schools I just mentioned, to see, like, the 607 is a great area. I know in terms of athletes, it's a veritable treasure trove of, you know, stars. I mean, seriously, the Horseheads girls softball team just lost in the state final, with the boys winning the state final. I'm sure some of those seniors, I mean, I know for a fact all those seniors already know where they want to go, so there's no point of suggesting they go to, say, like Trinity-Pawling if you're a girl, you know, Ethel Walker or whatever. But for the most part, a lot of the great teams that Horseheads has right now, especially, they're young. Like, if after 4 years of, you know, 4 really great years here, they were to take that to, say, again, any of the schools in the Founders League, they would turn it upside down. They would absolutely turn everybody upside down. I just know they would. In fact, I've seen some students over the years who would be great for Trinity-Pawling, for sure. I mean, that first year I started watching football again, the QB, like that QB, like, I was like, oh, please let him be a junior so I can tell him about Trinity-Pawling. He was a senior. And he was going to go play baseball in college, which actually Trinity-Pawling just made their new baseball field. So, yeah, if you're, like, right now, if you're a Horseheads baseball player and you don't know where you're going to go yet, repeat your senior year at Trinity-Pawling. They just made their new baseball field, and it looks really good. A Horseheads player on that field, like, they wouldn't know what to do. They'd be having so much fun, they wouldn't even know what to do with themselves. But that's just me. Or actually, Horseheads wrestling has gotten a lot better over the years. If any Horseheads wrestlers going to Trinity-Pawling, I wrestle for Trinity-Pawling. So, yeah, I would definitely be the guy to talk to for sure. Especially when, after all these years, the coach is still there. And not only is he the wrestling coach, he was also my English teacher. That's pretty cool. Yeah. That, I mean, it sounds crazy and out there, and yeah, it's kind of hard. I mean, again, the idea of asking a student, especially a senior, to repeat their senior year when I'm sure they kind of want to get college done and over with. I get it. Like, I get that would completely turn them off away from that. In fact, when my parents suggested Trinity-Pawling to me, like, I could not have cared any less than I did at that moment. I didn't want to hear a word about my future. And I wound up making arguably the greatest decision of my life, whether I realized it or not. And, I mean, if you've been watching me long enough, you know that, especially since I've been making videos, my life has been feeling pretty fulfilled. I wouldn't have any of that without Trinity-Pawling. And I was a loser going in. So imagine, someone who's not a loser going there. But that's just me. Again, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of posts about Trinity-Pawling lately. Students doing senior projects or whatever, as well as graduations from Trinity-Pawling, and Horsehead students graduating from BOCES and stuff like that, and the charity event last night. I don't know. I guess I want to speak my mind on what a goal I have is. And I would say on paper I'd say halfway between lofty and very much doable. Honestly, it's got to be right place, right time. And I think that time will come. I don't know when it'll come, but I'm confident it will be. Because with each passing year, as the 607 produces more and more great young men and women to go take on the world. If those young men and women were to go to any of those prep schools I just mentioned, and if I had a hand in helping that, that is one of my ultimate goals in life. And I do hope someday it happens. Just like I hope you all like this video. And if you did, you know where to follow me. As always, I am very humbled I made this video for all you guys watching. Enjoy for today. And hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And remember, if anything you guys want to talk to me, we'll be here to let me know what's back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby. As long as I'm talking about Trinity-Pawling, roll pride.